can't I hear anything?
There's nothing here to hear to yet. There's nothing to hear yet.
Talking to myself. Thank you, dear.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Mission Dharma. We'll just give it another minute, let other folks gather. Thank you, Keith, for co-hosting. Much appreciated. Feel like I'm in good hands. Well, let's go ahead and get started, and I'm sure we'll be joined by other folks. So, again, welcome to Mission Dharma. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Davis, and I'm sitting in for Howie tonight. He's feeling a bit under the weather, but he should be back next week. And I'll be happy to send along your metta. Bryce had some requests for that. And I've been hanging around Mission Dharma for I think about 17 years or so. And I've sat in this seat a few times. I'm on the board, and it's always a real privilege when Howie lets me sit in this seat. So let's go ahead and the reason we come together, right, as in a group, is that we don't want to feel so alone. Right. And so, doing this together is much easier than doing it on our own. So let's see who is here with us today. So if you'd like, please turn on your cameras just for a moment. You can turn them off afterwards, just so we can get a sense of the other human beings we're with today. And feel free to unmute and tell us who you are and where you are.
Chef from San Francisco.
Oh, welcome.
Laura in Maryland. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Laura.
Cecilia in Scottsdale. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Cecilia.
Bill in Pittsburgh.
Hello, Bill.
Katie from San Francisco.
Oh, is that Katie?
Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
Katie.
Linda in San Francisco.
And lovely to see you, and thank you.
Jean Marie.
Jill in Regina. Hi, Mary. Good to see
Hi,
you.
good to see you, Jill. Yeah, lovely.
Jean Marie in Santa Barbara / Canada, British Columbia.
Oh, okay, well,
I'm
welcome.
in two places.
Okay, welcome, Jane Marie.
Mary in Santa Barbara. Hi to other person in Santa Barbara.
Hi, Mary.
Sorry. Did I not have was I muted? I'm sorry.
No, I said,
Okay. Oh,
I said hi.
Hi,
Miriam
Mary.
in Vancouver, Canada.
Hello, Miriam.
Linda from Santa Rosa, California.
Hello, Linda. Nice to see you.
Hi, Jeff in San Francisco.
Hello, Jeff in San Francisco. Where are you?
Adam in New York City, Brooklyn.
Oh my, hello and welcome. One of our late nighters.
Yes.
Anyone else care to put your voice in the
Keith
room?
in Berkeley.
Hello, Keith. Our faithful co-host tonight.
Maureen in Regina, Canada.
Hello, Maureen. Lovely to see you, my dear.
Glad you're here, Mary.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, I'm Jacqueline from Brooklyn.
Hello. Oh, we have another New Yorker. Lovely. Well, welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Okay. Once, going twice. Okay. So it's so lovely to be surrounded by familiar faces and not so familiar faces, because even though it always feels like a privilege to sit in the seat, it's always a little nerve-wracking. I'm stepping into big shoes. So, okay, so why don't we go ahead and settle into our practice period. So, really taking a moment as we settle in. Come to our seat very consciously. Often when we sit down, we just kind of plop down. We sit for so many other things. We sit to work, we sit to watch TV, we sit to eat. To practice, we want to find that place that has a sense of ease, There's also enough uprightness so that there's energy. Awakeness, alertness. Of course, we can accommodate what needs to be accommodated. If there's any pain in the body, we can make accommodations for that. So we want to embody kindness towards ourselves, towards others. Lives are stressful enough. We don't want to introduce stress into our meditation. Having found a posture that feels comfortable and upright, just allow yourself to start to land. I sometimes invoke for myself that feeling when you come home from work or a day of errands or just busyness, and you finally sit down. And that relief at being home. Go, nothing to do, nothing to prove, and no one to be. So sensing that transition from whatever came before to this moment. You may still feeling yourself revving a bit high depending on what happened before. Maybe it's not physical, it's just mental. That's okay. We can't be expected to go from 60 miles per hour, kilometers an hour to zero. It's feeling ourselves starting to let go of what's easy to let go of. Body be heavy in the chair, the couch, wherever you're sitting. Effects of gravity. Letting your shoulders melt down, letting the face soften. Feeling yourselves being held, whatever it is that we're sitting on. Feeling that contact with the earth at the bottom of our feet. Feeling that sense of stability and strength. Realizing that we're all sharing the same earth. Different locations, but we're all here on the earth together, so perhaps feeling that sense of belonging and connectivity. Letting our awareness fill our body. Start to notice the aliveness. Noticing the pulsing or the tingling, that sense of energy or electricity. It could be itching, pulsing. And what you notice is pain in the body. And you meet that with just ample compassion. Yet know that it too is welcome. You don't have to push away the unpleasant or the painful. You want to invite it in. Hold it with tenderness. And likewise, if you find that the mind is just in this state of rumination or can't calm down or are plagued by difficult thoughts, meet that too with a sense of kindness and tenderness. Certainly don't want to judge ourselves. So finding your home, finding your anchor in the breath, either with the nostrils, the chest, or the belly, or perhaps the whole body breathing. The breath is difficult for you. You can ground your awareness in your body, perhaps the touch of your feet on the ground. Just finding some place where we can anchor our awareness, that we can keep coming home to time and time again. Because no doubt the mind will be sending its invitations. Plan the future or ruminate about the past, to judge, to analyze. Wake up from that. Then we can come back home. Over and over, we keep coming back home. Just here, just now. Whatever experience you're having in this moment is the right experience. When it can all be met in loving awareness. Difficulties with the heart of compassion, joys with gratitude, just curiosity, investigation, wisdom. Go of any judgments without good meditation or bad meditation. Just keep becoming intimate with this moment. Sometimes it's helpful to just check in with yourself. What is being known in this moment? And what's the attitude in the mind? Is there any pushing and pulling with reality? Or is it just being held in this field of loving awareness? If you find that you've been caught by the world of thoughts, it's just this reminder to come back home. Just this moment or just the sensation, whatever's happening here and now. last few minutes of our practice period, I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness to your heart. And for those of you who have a metta practice or know the metta phrases, I invite you to start just sending metta to everyone here in this room. Wishes of peace, of safety, health, and freedom. In whatever way you wish to do, using your phrases or simply radiating from your heart. Those of you who are not familiar with metta, just think of it as radiating good wishes to others. It's for happiness, for peace. Just sending it out for now to folks here in the Sangha with you. And you can include yourself in that too. So may we be happy and peaceful. May we be safe and protected. May we be healthy and strong. May we be free. Want to take a pause and see if you can receive the metta that's being sent your direction. And then I'd like you to take those wishes and then spread them out as far as you can to those known and unknown, near and far, those who are suffering, those who are doing well, animal, human. Opening our heart and spreading out our goodwill as far as we can to this world that so needs our love and care. So may all living beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all living beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And may all living beings live in peace. So we feel free to stretch, to hydrate. Okay. All right. So welcome back. And always, it's a pleasure to practice with you all. So today when Howie called me and he asked me to sit in for him as he was feeling a bit under the weather, my response was sure. I have a talk about joy in my back pocket that I can give. And then I kind of paused and really sort of wondered whether or not that would land, considering everything that's happening, in the world, everything that's happening in this country, all the reverberations of that. So many of us are feeling so acutely, the what's happening, the aggression and the cruelty, the oppression, the loss of life. And in the result, we feel the outrage and the anger, the confusion, sadness, right? And when we really let it in, it breaks our heart. So what you may be focusing on these days, or what you may be feeling these days, is this deep sense of compassion, because there's so much suffering that's happening, right? Because when we have these open, beautiful hearts of metta, right, when that meets suffering, what naturally arises is compassion, right? Sometimes called like this quivering of the heart, right? This wish for that suffering to end, right? And if we can, this desire to help if we can, right? But we know, I used to work in the healthcare field, and I know that, for so many in the helping professions, or volunteer helpers, or just people who just tend to be helpers, right? That compassion burnout can be really real. It can just start to feel like too much. It just gets too heavy. And the heart hardens, not because we don't care, but out of love for ourselves, we start to build this hard exoskeleton, because it's so tender, right? And then what happens is that we start turning away, right? Because we just can't take it anymore. And so what we need to cultivate in times like this, when there's so much manifest suffering, is this mind of equanimity, right? This balanced mind that's able to hold the 10,000 joys as well as the 10,000 sorrows, right? Within the Brahma Viharas, right, the role of equanimity is to provide this sense of balance to the other Brahma Viharas, right? So metta doesn't become too sentimental, so that compassion doesn't become too heavy, and that mudita, which we'll be talking about more, doesn't get too sort of giddy or out of control, right? But what I've noticed when I'm talking to people, and I facilitate a number of different groups, and I have my own sangha, is that there's this focus on all the difficulties in the world. And when I talk to people, I can feel the heaviness in their hearts, the heartbreak. Because it's hard enough to deal with our own personal challenges, right? Life gives us, it's aging, sickness, death, and loss of everything, right? Or just more like things like health and finances, relationships, work, right? All of that is hard enough. But then we take on the weight of world events, right? And then what I also notice is that sometimes when they're talking about things that are going well, they say it with a little bit of timidity, kind of like they're a little ashamed of it or embarrassed about their good fortune or their joy, right? Because of all of this, somehow it doesn't feel right to be experiencing joy. But the Buddha taught that this is a path of joy, right? Of freeing ourselves in suffering so that we can live in this state of joy, right? So from the Dhammapada, The Buddha said, live in joy, in love, even among those who hate. Live in joy, in health, even among the afflicted. Live in joy, in peace, even among the troubled. Look within, be still, free from fear and attachment. Know the sweet joy of living in the way. Right? So that's a rousing, endorsement for joy from the Buddha. So this is a path of joy. I think in the reminder today, I included a quote by Venerable Analayo that said, the whole of Buddha's path can be seen as a, oops, come back here, little fella, can be seen as a cultivation of joy or a refinement of joy, right? So, it's part of what we're doing. And plus, also, you may have heard, in activist circles, the expression that joy is resistance, right? Which reminds us that even in our fights for justice, that we can't forget our humanity, our love, our kindness, and yes, we can't forget our joy. And you see this in various protests, whether it's the sort of silly costumes or just, I always just get so moved when I see large groups of people singing songs of peace and love. It's so powerful. The hearts are reverberating. So, and I don't know how many of you saw the Bad Bunny halftime show for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I see a few like, yes, yes. What an expression of love and joy and unity amidst a time when so many, Spanish-speaking folks, brown folks, are being oppressed and targeted and subject to violence. To see this beautiful expression, and then plus that message, up on the Megatron at the very end, where he said, the only thing more powerful than hate is love, right? And joy is a powerful expression, of our love. So joy is not only our spiritual path, it's what we need to face these times in which we live. So we want to be able to invite it in, to recognize it, to savor it, right? Not cling on to it, right? The minute we do this, we have that tight fist. We kind of ruined it, right? Because we're in that tension, because we know that it's going to be fleeting, it's going to pass through. But while it's present, we want to be able to savor it, right? Rick Hansen talks a lot about, our strong negativity bias and how to sort of balance that. We need to really be able to notice, the happiness and the joy. And we want to be able to sort of soak it in, to savor it, right? So that our whole view becomes a little bit more balanced. Because all the negative has a really powerful draw. And it's really easy to get sucked in, right? But then if we remember, right, there's also the joy, it makes this a little bit easier to bear. So we need to find ways to touch into, this wholesome sense of joy. It may be through acts of kindness, it could be connection to other human beings, to animals, to nature. It could arise through gratitude, through loving kindness, through our wisdom, patience, etc., all the Brahma Viharas, right? And generosity, right? Generosity is a practice of joy. I think so often we associate generosity is that this is coming to me and I'm bestowing something on you, right? But the Buddha said that the practice of generosity, that there's joy in the giving, that there's joy in there's joy in the thinking about giving, that there's joy in the giving, and that there's joy in the remembrance of giving, right? I think we so often miss this opportunity, right? especially, and I'm not doing a Donna talk here, but so often with things like Donna, is like it just becomes this transaction. We pick up our Venmo, boop, 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 and we're done with it. And it's such a missed opportunity to feel that joy, of offering this gift. So, when we give, we want to be able to give heartfully, mindfully. Don't miss that opportunity. But I also want to acknowledge that there are times it's hard to find the joy in our lives, right? Times when things feel really, really bleak. But the good news is that we can still find joy in the goodness and good fortune of others. And that's where mudita comes in, right? Often described as sympathetic joy or appreciative joy or selfless joy. I always just like to think of it as that sense of I'm happy, you're happy, right? So mudita is the third of the Brahma Viharas, right? And mudita's foundation is metta, right? That's this open, caring heart that wishes for the happiness of others, right? It lacks any sort of ill will. So just like compassion grows from metta, right? The foundation is this open, caring heart when it meets suffering, compassion. And then when it meets joy, that sense, mudita, right? And so we can experience that as, if compassion is sort of the quivering of the heart, the tender quivering of the heart. I always think of sort of this buoyancy, this lightness of heart. But it often gets expressed for myself where I notice it's like just a smile comes to my face, And we all know this feeling. This is not something esoteric. We're all familiar with this. Perhaps it's when we see, if we have children, if we see a child doing something, their success, their happiness, right? We share in that. There's this, we're really happy for them. Or perhaps a loved one gave us some good news, right? And we just go in with this big hug, right? Because we're so happy for them. And we can even catch, mudita. We can even catch the joy from people we don't even know. And that's like with all the Brahma Viharas, we go from sort of smaller to bigger, bigger, right? So that we can join in the joy of those that we don't even know. Because it's contagious. So I this year I watched the Olympics with kind of a different intention, right? I was really sort of, rather than getting caught up in the competition, who's winning, who's losing, what countries people are for, I was really sort of trying to touch into their joy and their heartbreak, right? Just sort of, and particularly the mudita, just when you see them, just like that feeling of just relief and happiness at doing doing a job well done, right? Whether they won or they lost, they knew they did their best. And in particular, Alyssa Liu is a Richmond girl, so hometown girl. I don't know how many of you caught her performance. Figure skater. That was just joy on ice. It was so joyful and it was so perfect. And I just found myself watching that and, experiencing her joy. Just smile, the big smile on my face. My heart felt lighter because I was tapping in to her joy, right? And frankly, when I start going down a really dark hole, reading the news or just, I have the Alyssa Liu performance, gold medal performance, and I have Bad Bunny on repeat. It's just kind of like, there is goodness in the world. There is joy in the world, right? And it makes this easier, all the difficulties easier to bear. So, but I have heard and I've experienced for myself that mudita can be one of the most challenging of the Brahma Viharas, right? Because often in the face of somebody else's good fortune, sometimes there's a tiny voice that says, well, what about me, right? You know, and especially in situations where someone may be celebrating something that we wanted for ourselves. You know, that's why it's easy for me to feel mudita, you know, watching Alyssa Liu, because I'm not in competition for a gold medal, right? I don't have any history with her. I'm just really just, what I'm experiencing is her joy. But, so there's no self-interest, right? It's, I don't know her, I admire her talent, but, so it's easy. But if it's something I have more of a vested interest in, right, it could be more challenging. I mean, I remember when I was in the corporate world, you know, if there was somebody else who got the job or the recognition or the money that I wanted and I felt I deserved, sometimes mudita was pretty hard to find, right? Particularly if I saw that person as the competition, right? Because then it's this, just these voices of comparing and judging, right? And yet, if it were somebody who was a friend of mine, I found it was a little easier because there was that connection. There was already this heart connection of metta, right? That foundation was there. So I could feel my disappointment and I could feel the mudita. They were both there. But because it had this foundation of care, of metta at the core there. So give yourself a lot of grace if mudita doesn't come easily. We have a lifetime of conditioning, of putting our own interests above others, of feeling in competition with others. You know, but fortunately, all of our practices, right? Our practice of loving kindness, our practice of generosity, in particular, right, starts to chip away these barriers between ourselves and others, right? We start sort of equalizing a bit our care. Right? And so as we do that, we may find that mudita becomes a little bit easier for us. We're not in competition with the world. So the other thing I've been sort of working with, because sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a lot of joy in my vicinity, is to go out into the world with this intention of finding joy, or this intention of mudita, right? I find sometimes going to a park and just seeing, you know, the people enjoying a nice day in the sun, enjoying their kids, right, can kind of lighten my heart. You know, and I'm very fortunate that I have this little fluffy white dog who is just a mudita machine. And I go out into the world with her, and she has never met anybody she doesn't love. She's just unconditional love on four legs. And she has to meet everybody, and she has to say hello, and she has to love them up. So I get to witness these really, and then people just melt, right? And they just, and you just see this little love fest. And then I'm on the sidelines, and then I'm joining the love fest too, right? And there's so much joy just because this little creature is going, hey, do you want to be my friend? I want to be your friend, right? And so, you know, whereas before I'd walk through, I may be walking through and I wouldn't even look twice at people. But then here, there's these beautiful moments of connection and mudita. So, and just a note, we do want to focus our, oh, goodness. Oh no, we go till 8. I'm sorry. I got a little confused at the time. And just a note, we do want to focus our mudita on the wholesome, on the skillful, right? We don't want to join in somebody's evil glee, right? Somebody who's doing harm to themselves or other, right? They may have some sort of expression, this temporary happiness, right? We don't want to glom onto that, right? We don't want to encourage anybody to be harming others or to be harming themselves, right? So we want to be able to join in on something that is forward leading towards more peace, towards more happiness. So I also, it's interesting being on the receiving side of mudita. I think we've all maybe had the experience, right? When we've had our own good news and it's not received in the way that we wish it were, right? Maybe it's received with indifference or maybe jealousy or disdain, right? And I think sometimes that's a way to keep it to ourselves because we're afraid of that. That's not going to be received in the way that we would like it to be. But it's so sweet to be on the receiving side of mudita. I had this experience a few weeks ago where I had a bit of a health scare and I ended up in the ER for about 9 hours. And it was an AFib. I had afibrillation. I'd never had it before. I was scared to death, right? I thought I was dying. And there was this wonderful nurse who came in, and rather than sort of connecting with all the wires and the monitors and all this other stuff, she connected with me, right? She looked me right in the eye and she's like, "You're going to be okay." There was this connection. I felt cared for. And so when my heart went back into reset to its proper rhythm and rate, I remember I kind of looked at the monitor and I'm like, oh my gosh. And she burst into the room and she said, "Yes!" And she was so happy for me, right? And it was just amplified. Just this joy was amplified. Because, it could have been very easy for her to go, "Oh, okay, looks like you're ready to go," right? But she came in and she shared my joy with me. And it was really very, very moving. So what I want to do tonight is a little different. It's not breakout rooms. Please don't run away. But I want to give you the opportunity to share your joy and to have it received, right? For you to share what you have and others to feel mudita or to feel whatever arises, right? Because we can't force it. One of the disadvantages I find sometimes of having larger groups is that we don't get the opportunity to share our lives with each other. We get glimpses, right, in the Q&A sessions. Sometimes there's a little glimpse where people talk about what's happening for them. But with my song, I have a smaller sangha. It's maybe 12 people, on a good night. But every single session, we check in and we share the challenges of our lives, we share the joys of our lives, and how we're bringing practice to our lives. And as we're listening to that, we can just feel how the heart is so flexible and just it's like, meeting things with compassion. And there's mudita, right? These ebbs and flows of each other's lives. And really sometimes I just want to let go, mic drop, that's the Dharma here, right? When people are so present for their own lives and they can share it with others, when we see our humanity reflected back to us. So I would like to invite those who are willing, would like to share something that has brought you joy. And it doesn't have to be a big joy, right? It doesn't have to be, "Oh my gosh, I bought a house." It could just be, "My favorite tree is starting to flower," right? Or I saw a cat sunning, and it was just sharing what brought you some happiness and why it brought you some happiness. And then our job as listeners is to simply, be there for the share, right? To bring this loving awareness, but then also keeping enough awareness with ourselves that we recognize what's happening with us, right? So that we know what's happening also in our body and mind. So it's like, oh, what's my response here? What's the response of the heart? So, and also, if you feel so called to, feel free to use any little heart emoji, the react button, to send up some heart emojis, a little party, any appropriate supportive emoji, right? And also I'd love for folks to have, as many folks as possible to have your cameras on, just so that we can, it can be kind of weird when you're just talking to a lot of black boxes. So I want to invite folks to turn on their cameras. And who wants to go? Trisha.
Hi, Mary. Can you all hear me? Good. Thank you so much for this talk. There is a lot of heaviness going on in the world right now, and and in my own life with, work and home and all that stuff. But about a year ago, I got into the joy of bird watching. And I have a huge backyard, and my old landlord poisoned it. So for several years, there were like no songbirds. And this year, I've been waking up to like all these different songbirds, and on Merlin, I can hear how, which birds are out there, often 6 or 8 different kinds. And I've also got into it with the Golden Gate Bird Alliance, which used to be the Audubon Society. And I haven't been able to make a lot of walks lately. It's become so popular since COVID. Anyway, I got out and I just decided I was gonna join a group, even though I didn't sign up this week. Last weekend, there were 60 people in the botanical gardens, and it was just pure magic. I mean, there's just so much wonderment in nature. And oh, I was so needed that, just to thank you, everybody, just to experience the beauty in nature and all those incredible bird songs. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. So let's just pause for a moment. Feeling any reverberation, what's happening in our heart. Trisha's description of all the wonderful birds and the joy it brings her. Just noticing, not judging what arises. Okay, who else? Jane Marie, are you saying goodbye or are you saying yes? Okay, thank you. Bye. So who else? Laura, thank you.
Thank you so much for this talk, Mary. It just left me feeling effervescent. And listening to that last share, I mean, it really just is lots of sensations of just joy bubbling and rising. It's just so wonderful, and to be reminded of that. And I was experiencing it actually tonight in my sit. I've decided mudita is certainly my most favorite feeling. That feeling of just joy from another's joy. It also has this real, like a non-dual quality, because when you're really in that feeling of mudita, there's no sense of wanting it for yourself, like as you were describing with the Olympics. But as you were teaching tonight, like I was experiencing such mudita for you, just I know what a joy it is to share the Dharma, and any chance to do that is such a joy. And I could feel the joy coming through you. And then that made me feel all kinds of joy. And the other week when Noemi shared that she was going to the month long at Spirit Rock, oh, I just knew how exciting that was. And I just felt so much joy, like, oh, all these opportunities she'll have to go into deep practice. And so yeah, I just am really, really feeling it. And it's so nice to be reminded of that, in these times, especially. I was in DC over the weekend where there was a lot of Iranian Americans there. And it was just kind of the start of everything, but they were joyously celebrating and just watching, something that was so, for them, very, very moving. Just watching people crying and dancing. It was just, there's a lot going on in this world, and it's really important to see these reminders and feel this joy. So I think your talk was the perfect time. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Again, just Laura, hopefully you're seeing the hearts. All right, who else?
I can share something.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much for your talk and also for the other people that have shared. Something just arose for me when you were talking about mudita. Um, I was just thinking about my mother and the ways that she showed love and the challenges and limitations. And I was just really struck by the gift of mudita that I always experienced and continue to experience from her. And it was just like a really lovely reminder, even with challenges and even with limitations, like that is such a pure, loving gift to express when that arises in you, as you experienced in the hospital. So that brought that up for me, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, mudita, I mean, our mudita is a gift to others. Like you said, it really fills the heart. So thank you, Vanessa. All right, who else? Okay, I think Jill and then Linda. Oh, Linda's unmuted. So Jill, can I let Linda go first? She's already unmuted. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, hello, hello. Well, it's giving me joy to see everybody's beautiful smiling faces on the computer as you talk about what gives you joy. By the way, if I look a little toothless, it's because I'm in the middle of dental work. I just wanted to say one thing that really gives me joy is music. And I live in an apartment where at least 4 people can easily see into my kitchen window, which is where I often listen to music when I'm cooking and stuff. And so I used to feel self-conscious about dancing, but I have, at this point, I just absolutely, completely let it rip as if I'm a, Las Vegas stripper or whatever, because it's like, if I am not going to dance now, when am I thinking of doing that? Like in my next life, I might be living in this apartment forever, and I am going to, I'm not gonna not dance because my neighbors might be thinking, oh my God, look at those unorthodox moves over there. So yeah, so that gives me joy.
Thank you, Linda. Again, just a little pause. And I hope you're taking in the emojis, seeing the smiles on the screen, and the joy of just unabashedly dancing. All right, so Jill and then Stephen.
Can you hear me?
Ma'am?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yes.
I just wanted to say that one of my favorite quotes forever is the one by Wendell Berry, from his essay, the Mad Farmer's Liberation, and he's describing everything that's happening. And in the middle, the very middle, it says, "Be joyful, though you've considered all the facts." And I made that my theme last year. I had them written where I could see it be joyful, though you've considered all the facts.
Is there anything in particular that's bringing you joy these days, Jill?
Yeah, I think community and family. And people who care and who are standing up to injustice and finding ways to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Mary, so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Just a little pause. Sharing Jill's joy. Surrounded by community. People who are fighting the good fight. All right, so Stephen.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. This is very simple, Joy, but I live in Santa Rosa and I'm up in Tahoe right now and I went looking for snow. And I found a lot of it. Went to Diamond Peak today, and then above Diamond Peak in Incline Village, there's like this place where all these houses are just look like Switzerland. And there's about 3 feet of snow between the houses. So I just went there and had a cheese sandwich and sat on a rock. And I felt like, wow, isn't that great that I could just do that? And then I also went to Chase Bank in Incline Village and they gave me a cup of tea. I mean, Lipton's. It was so nice. I really loved it, and then I went to Raley's and I had a cup of chai and I had a gigantic piece of bread that was half the size of me. And it was just so nice to do that. It was like, it was just like a freeing day. And I just got up in the morning and just drove there 2 days in a row, and I'll do it tomorrow. And then I'll come home. It's
Yeah.
like simple from all the
Yeah.
things in the world. It was just great.
Yeah. Yeah. Really savoring those simple moments, out in nature and good food and connection, just all of that. So thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, it was so much fun to be in the snow.
Yeah. 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 Thank you.
You're welcome.
Reading Stephen's just joy, the simplicity, the simple things, snow, cup of tea, kindness. Hi, Miss Mary. Unmute myself, my dear.
Sorry, I've been having some issues with my iPad. First of all, I want to tell you, your smile is always so joyful. Just even looking at you, talking to you, I always feel happy. And I also always love your curtains too.
Wayfair.
Well, this week is my birthday at the end of the week, and it's been kind of a crazy week because the world was very crazy, and a lot of people I know are activists were all very upset, very upsetting, including myself. And thank you, everybody. And I've been very blessed with very good health my whole life, and I've been having a very serious neuropathy issue with my foot. I'm going to have to go back to urgent care, I think, tomorrow. So anyway, it's just been very painful. But so I had all this stuff that I had to do. And I was like, didn't want to do any of it. I could hardly walk, And but I also have this Zoom art class that I'm taking this week, which I love, is great. And part of it is just doing like this simple art journal every day, just so you're just working for something and playing, just having fun with it. No, it's not. And I actually had two art shows I was supposed to be in, and I couldn't even go there. I just said forget it this time. And I just played, and every day I got so engrossed in having fun. I felt like, like when I do something like that, that's like playful and collage and just experimenting, it's like you feel like a child again because you're really just playing. You're not thinking, oh, I need this for a show, or is, what, etc., etc., all our judgments. And the day, yesterday and today, just went like that. Still didn't get all this stuff done. I had to get done. But, I felt joy. I felt happy. And I realized, I think that's what you really needed to do. That was the best thing for your health and your psyche, and, and remembering that, it's kind of like meditating too. You can get in touch with that joy that's beyond anything going on. So thank you for a lovely talk, and it's so nice to be with you tonight. I was looking forward to meditation. I hope Howie feels better. I hope he's okay, and I'm glad you're feeling better too.
Yeah, I'm doing much better.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to say I felt the same way about Lissa Lou and Bad Bunny and many things. Like,
Yeah.
I went to see Hamnet. I felt like this week, every time I felt very depressed about some of the ugliness going on in the world, and then I would see some kind of very moving thing, like even Harrison Ford's acceptance thing. He was such a good man. I was so impressed, and people doing creative things or beautiful things that I can't tell you how many times I just emotionally cried this week over all these. I just felt like, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
So thank you all for being here. I'm happy to
Thank you, Mim.
see you all.
Yeah, that advice to play, just for the joy of it.
Oh no, my days went like this. I could hardly remember all the laundry and medical and whatever.
Yeah. But sometimes we so need that, right? Because things can be so heavy.
Yeah.
We need to find that place.
I really did. It was
that remember, like you said, that too. Joy is there too, right? So you're quite welcome. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you for sharing your joy, for taking in others' joy. It was lovely to see your expressions on the screen, and I can tell that you are all present, and so anyway, so I want to pass it over to my esteemed co-host Keith for a few announcements.
So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to come up with any better explanation or a motivation for Donna than what Mary gave. But just on the logistical side, I put it in the chat there. But Donna is, I think of it connecting to that sense of wanting this to continue for others, wanting to celebrate the joy or the support it brings us. And so, give what you can, and feel good about that at the same time. And if money is not available, then there are volunteer opportunities. We're always looking for somebody to help out with co-hosting or those sorts of things. So feel free to reach out to Mary or to myself. And then just quickly, I also put in the chat, there's an upcoming half-day online retreat on Saturday, May 21st. And there's a link in the chat for that. That's 9 to 1 Pacific.
Okay. Thank you so much, Keith. And thank you everyone Let's just take a moment to dedicate the merit. Just settling in, the goodness of our practice, the goodness of connection, the goodness of joy. And so maybe we take this joy and goodness and spread it far and wide to those known and unknown, those near and far, those that are dear and those that are difficult, human and non-human. May all living beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all living beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And may all living beings live in peace. All right, my friends, feel free to unmute and say farewell.
Thank you, Mary. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good medicine.
Thanks, Mary.
Lovely talk. Enjoyed
Take
the
care.
talk.
Thank you so much.
For being here.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Good medicine. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we
Good
all
night,
I'm so
everybody.
glad I went with my instincts. I'm like, I can't talk about joy.
Oh no, we need
Oh,
it.
no. Yeah, we need it. We need it.
Makes us
So,
strong.
yeah. So, Linda, my group meets on Zoom. We're not in person. So, if you want, just leave me your email address. I'm happy to put you on the list. It's a lovely group of people. I think you would fit right in. And we do meet in person once a month, but we're in, like I said, we're over here in Richmond, but we meet once a month on Saturdays for just to hug each other and eat and practice together. So,
What night is your meditation?
Wednesday nights.
Wednesday
from 6:30 to 8.
Are you going to put it in the chat or?
Okay, so Linda, I'll add you to our mailing list, and then Mary, why don't you put your email address and then I can add you to our mailing list.
You want me to put in the chat?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just so I can.
I just have to remember how to do that. I don't do that very often. So.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Oops, hold on. Let's get my notebook here. Okay, so we've got Linda, L.W.Atkins at sonic.net. Okay. All right. Or you can just tell it to me, Linda. I mean to Mary, either way.
Actually, I just put it in the chat.
Oh. ¿Dónde está?
Thank you.
Weird.
Oh, do you not see it? I can see that it went up into the chat. There's like a pink thing that says MG. Oh, maybe it's only going to.
Might have just. Oh, there you are. There you are. You're in the. Okay. Mary B. Gold. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't teach every week, but I'm there every week, and so we have guest teachers. But that's in the announcement of who's teaching that week.
Sure. Thank you. Just send me your email. That'd be great.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Mary. Bye-bye.
You too.